Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wondergoal, the soccer betting podcast from the Action Network, presented to you by Bet365. My name is Michael Lieboff. Joining me, as always, for our Match Week 8 episode are my co-hosts and friends, Anthony DeBundo and BJ Cunningham. Together, the three of us are going to go on a handicapping adventure through all 10 matches in the Premier League. We'll touch on the Bundesliga, LaLiga, Serie A, Ligue 1, give out our three-leg Underdog Parlay. This week is a whopper, 182-1, and then give our favorite bets for Match Week 8 of the Premier League coming your way Saturday and Sunday before the international break. Before I bring those guys in, just a reminder that Wondergoal is proudly presented by Bet365, and Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. It believes that every sport should be epic, every tournament, every game, every point, every play, from the moments that are legendary to the ones that fly under the radar. See for yourself when you sign up with promo code ACTION, and you'll get $365 in bonus bets when you bet just $1. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. You must be 21 or older. You must also be present in Colorado, Iowa, Kentucky, New Jersey, Ohio, or Virginia. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please don't hesitate to call 1-800-GAMBLER in Colorado, Kentucky, New Jersey, Ohio, and Virginia, or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms and conditions apply. BJ, Anthony, fun week of Champions League soccer. We are all over our boys from Istanbul, Galatasaray.
Welcome to hell.
Yeah.
I was in hell today, so
a lot of fun.
I'm calling for. Last week I called for a ban on red cards. Now I'm calling for a ban on stoppage time.
Yeah,
I think we can make that happen. I also would like
I'd win like 3% more if we didn't have.
I'd also like the Liverpool and Tottenham match to be replayed.
Like Jurgen Klopp said, yeah.
Look, I'm okay with that. Just give us the same price. Let me bet Tottenham plus a half.
Yeah, we can watch Liverpool get cooked for another 60 minutes.
All right. Before we scare anyone away, any new listeners, by the way, thank you to everyone who keeps returning and joining the fun. If you haven't, please rate, review, and subscribe. 5 stars would be quite nice. We'll start with the headliner Sunday morning, 11:30 a.m. Arsenal and City at the Emirates. Arsenal plus 200. Slight underdog at home. City plus 137, and the draws plus 230. City ready to ship a little bit with the win over Leipzig. That was one we got wrong there. And City was, I thought, really good. So tip your cap to Pep's men for getting back on track after losing 2 straight to Newcastle in the EFL Cup, and then Wolves. Mighty Wolves. BJ, you're the Arsenal guy here, so we'll just start with you. Anything you see from a betting standpoint here?
Not really. As an Arsenal fan, I'll probably be watching this from behind the couch. So I think there's a couple interesting things that Arsenal could have done if Saka and Martinelli were healthy for this match. Now, I still think that Arsenal can put a makeshift starting 11 out there that can compete with City here. And really what it comes down to is they need to do successfully what they were able to do to them in the Community Shield when they went down a goal and came back. And really what that is they need to start creating overloads in wide areas. So when they went behind against City over the course of the match eventually got to a box midfield, started creating overloads there. So what Arsenal did is when they usually build out in a 3-2-5, Odegaard just started completely pushing to Saka's side. Ben White moved up there. So they had this overload on the right side of the pitch where Grealish and Kovacic had to make decisions on whether they press or who they cover. And Arsenal was able to create chances via that. Now, I'm guessing Saka and Martinelli are not going to play. As of right now, they both look doubtful. What I would like to see Arteta do, Thomas Partey is healthy, which I think is very, very crucial for Arsenal in this match. He played in that Community Shield alongside Declan Rice in the middle of the pitch, which is massive for Arsenal trying to stop City from going through the middle. So I would like to see Kai Havertz then move out to the right wing, where he did play at Leverkusen for a long time, move Gabriel Jesus to the left, and then bring the world's best striker, Eddie Nketiah, up top. And there you have a decent front three with Rice and Partey next to each other, with Arsenal's usual back four. So I think that they could set up pretty well there. The problem is executing that against City. City will be without Rodri, which is a massive loss for them. You saw that against Wolves. Kovacic just is not as good in ball progression. He's not as good at winning duels in the middle of the pitch as Rodri is. So City loses a lot of that there. From a betting perspective, I think the price is about right here. I have City projected at plus 135, total at 2.7. So I'm right in line with where the market is. I don't think I can stomach a both teams to score no here, which I think is a decent price. I think you will see a very slow paced match because I don't think Arsenal, the times we've seen Arsenal play against Manchester City when they've actually, ascended to the level of, now Premier League title contenders. It was, the 4-1 beatdown at the Etihad where Rob Holding had to play center back. Arsenal wasn't healthy and they just got destroyed. And then there was the FA Cup match where Arsenal just tried to play transitionally. Like they didn't really try to play to the back. They just set everything long, which I don't think they're going to do here. So I think the match is going to be played pretty slow. And whoever goes ahead is really going to value game control. So for me, I'm passing. I know it sucks to pass on the biggest match, but if I were to play anything, it'd be both teams to score no, which I think is at plus 145 or so right now.
Yeah, I think this one feels like a good bet for the draw. A lot of times you'll see that number tick up as we get closer to kickoff because nobody wants to bet into it. And it's also like you said, in terms of game state or game approach, both of these teams want to be on the ball. I think it could be pretty lumbering, and we've seen a lot of these top 6 matches. There was a reputation like 3 years ago that the matches amongst the top 6 were kind of drab and very cagey, and then all of a sudden it shifted to them being kind of bonkers. But these two teams, I think, profile as it being more towards that cagey kind of affair. It would be a draw bet for me here. I think low event match, but I can also see myself on the 0-0, believe it or not. Anthony, what about you?
Yeah, look, we've had a good number of games of Arteta versus Guardiola now, and we can kind of go into what they've been. And if you look at it, BJ referenced the Community Shield match. There were only 15 shot attempts in that match, the entire match, and that was 0-0 until the 77th minute. Arsenal had a bunch of late chances in stoppage time and found the equalizer, one on pens. You can go back to last season's first meeting where there were basically 2 free goals where, Arsenal made a mistake to give De Bruyne the in, and then Arsenal got a penalty. And really the flow of the game was pointing toward the under as well. And that game finished with less than 2.5 non-penalty expected goals. And then you can go back to last year's FA Cup meeting in January when, yes, City rotated, but there were very few shot attempts in the game. There were only 8 shot attempts in that game. City won 1-0. The meeting that they had that BJ has still been so excited about from New Year's Day of the year before when Arsenal finally started their big ascent was not a particularly high event match either. The only one that was, a higher event style was the spring league meeting where I bet the under and I think BJ bet the Gunners and it was like 4-1 to City. They kind of poured it on late. And that was interesting because Pep kind of spursed Arsenal. Like they played off the ball a lot. They used De Bruyne and Haaland, kind of how Kane and Son play off one another, where one comes short, one runs in behind. And it was actually Haaland coming short, De Bruyne going in behind. But remember, that was, and they ripped them apart. I mean, they destroyed them in the match. But that was a City team with De Bruyne, and that was an Arsenal team without Saliba. So there were some tactical differences there. And I think Arteta has to be more pragmatic than he was in that match in the spring. I think he'll learn from that and realize that letting City play on the break is even more dangerous than letting them have the ball. Because I think Pep is going to take this in a very conservative light. And we saw this in the Newcastle match. We saw this even against Leipzig today. City was not particularly aggressive in possession. Most of their stuff came in high turnovers where they were able to quickly break off of those, but they are not going to commit numbers forward in transition or even in settled possession. It's going to be very pragmatic. And I think that's especially true after they got, kind of cooked by Wolves without Rodri. So I like under 2.5 here. I like it even more if Saka doesn't play because I think that's a huge loss. That's Arsenal's best attacker. If you just look at XG plus XA per 90, he's been clearly their best attacker. So I don't think he's going to play. I think Arteta needs to kind of take a step back here and realize that like throwing him out there when he's not fully fit, like he did on Tuesday against Lyon, like backfired and hamstrings are not one to risk re-injury with. So I'm expecting a conservative Arsenal and a conservative City and a low scoring affair, like a 1-0, 1-1 kind of game. I'm going under 2.5 for me.
0-0, 10-1. I've listened to both of you talk. Was my thinking going into it. I'm going to be on that. On to Brighton and Liverpool. Well, we'll see who Liverpool plays this weekend. It might be Tottenham.
Yeah, it
right?
might be.
It might be
They
Brighton.
might play a
We'll see.
doubleheader, Michael.
We'll see what
I
Anthony's
don't
boy
think this
Jurgen
one will end 0-0.
wants to
putting
cook
that out
up.
there.
Yeah.
If
Brighton
this
at
one
home.
ends 0-0, I may have to quit the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can find a replacement for you when it does. Brighton 2-1 at home. Liverpool a road favorite plus 120, and the draw is plus 280. Pretty easy decision here. I don't know how you don't bet Brighton as a home dog to a team they've given so many problems to, even with De Zerbi over the past few years. And as Anthony and BJ have talked about a lot, the Liverpool defensive numbers are not as good as they seem, or as sparkling as they seem when you look at the way games are going and the way teams are building up against them. I don't think that they've solved it yet. Maybe a little bit improved from last season, but still an issue. And I don't think you want to be leaky against a team like Brighton. So Seagulls plus 200 couldn't have been easier for me once I saw the number. BJ.
Yeah. Brighton plus a half, minus 140. So this is very interesting. You mentioned, last year Brighton pumped them 3-0 at the MX in their second Premier League meeting. The first one, I believe it was De Zerbi's first match in charge of Brighton, and it ended up being like a 3-3 thriller, and Brighton just continually was cooking Liverpool in transition. Well, what ended up happening is that second Premier League meeting where Brighton won 3-0, Liverpool tried to press them high, and they took De Zerbi's bait, and time again, Brighton was able to get in behind and trade chances, and ended up creating close to 2 expected goals in the match, and outshot Liverpool 16-6, 74% field tilt. Really, really dominant match. Then they played 15 days later in the FA Cup at Brighton, and Klopp didn't take the bait. He said, we're sitting off. We're not pressing high. We can't do it against Brighton. And it ended up being a very kind of slow, like sloggy match for a long time. The first goal didn't come, the first goal came around the 30th minute. But Liverpool now is kind of doing what they did in that FA Cup match. Klopp knows he can't press high anymore. So Liverpool has been sitting off and off and off. And, I went back and watched the first 20 minutes of the Tottenham match just before the red card happened to see what would Liverpool do to an elite build-up team. Because if you look at the teams that they've played so far this season, they haven't played an elite build-up team or someone like they're going to play against Brighton. And what they kept doing is they were very aggressive in trying to disrupt Tottenham build play. And Curtis Jones just kept flying in like time and time again from the midfield, just trying to get the ball out of the goalkeeper's feet and not allow Tottenham to play short passes. Well, he's suspended for this match, so that's not going to happen. So now Liverpool is going to be back to what we've seen through about the first 5 or 6 matches, which is McAllister in a makeshift 6 role with Szoboszlai next to him, and Liverpool not really having a defensive ball stopper in the middle of the pitch. So what they've been doing is they've been trying to close off the middle of the pitch. Teams have been able to get out in wide areas against them. It looks like Trent Alexander-Arnold is going to be back for this match, which him going against Matoma is, oh boy, that's going to be an advantage Brighton. But what Brighton also does is they like to bring an extra midfielder in the middle of the pitch. Like, they're one of the best teams in the world at building out through the middle of the pitch, but they don't just go through the middle. Like, they can create overloads in wide areas. They can get guys in one-on-one situations. Like, we've talked about it so many times, they're just an unbelievably elite offense that Liverpool just can't control. And I'm really shocked to see Liverpool as a road favorite here. Like, I just don't get it. I don't know what the market really sees in them right now. I mean, maybe it's just all of Brighton's defensive issues, which is a concern here. But no Gakpo, like I said, no Curtis Jones, no Diego Jota. So, and Liverpool's got a match against Union Saint-Gilloise, which is owned by the same, the Brighton's owner also owns Union Saint-Gilloise. So, might be able to do some little, some scouting or test some things out against Liverpool on Thursday. Who knows? But no, this is a crazy price. There's no way Liverpool should be a road favorite here. This is crazy. So Brighton plus a half, minus 140.
What do you think, Anthony?
I think you can largely just put what we just said on last week's episode about Spurs and Liverpool, and then just kind of like replay that almost. into the Saturday discussion because like it's the same price. Spurs are a little bit shorter. Liverpool, was like plus 120 here consensus against Brighton. They were like plus 110, 15 we recorded last week. So it's the same price. And I still have Brighton. We're going to talk about Tottenham. I still have Brighton power rated better than them by a marginal amount. I mean, it's pretty comparable. Brighton a little worse defensively. Brighton a little better in attack. If you think about the Seagulls, they will not have a Stupinian. He's going to be out a while now, so that hurts. But they have kind of some natural fits here. They can play Gross over there. They can kind of mix and match what they want to do. Lamptey could come in. I know it's not his natural side, but he can play in that role. I worry about the defensive midfield, but like you said, BJ, like there are real injuries here and suspensions for Liverpool now, with the main guys they like to use in the center suspended. The one thing that I don't love is that probably means Nunez starts, and I still think he's the best guy for that role. So in a way, that might actually make Liverpool better to not start Gakpo or Jota, but certainly from a depth perspective, Nunez has not been playing 90 minutes. Once he comes off the pitch, who do they go to in that central role? So I think you're looking at a real situation there, with Diaz and Salah, kind of carrying the load and Nunez not maybe being fully ready for 90. Who's the fourth guy? So that's a real question. But then I think from the other side of it, we can't just overreact to what happened to Brighton last week. I mean, they gave up 6 goals. It looked really ugly. They're going to have those kind of games when you play openly.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to have
it's the second
games
time
like
it's
that.
happened this year, right?
Yeah, if you look how a lot of those goals happened too, like there was 2 deflection goals. There was a lot of like low quality chances from Ollie Watkins. Like it really wasn't a resounding 6-goal performance from Aston Villa.
Look, we saw Brighton get housed in transition defense already this year. They played West Ham. They lost 3. They gave up 3 goals, 3 XG at home. What happened the next week? They were home. I thought we all agreed they were undervalued against Newcastle. They put in a great performance. So now, at an even better price than we got then, we get them against Liverpool, who is more flawed defensively. Okay, not as good in attack, but more flawed defensively. I think Liverpool and Newcastle are relatively comparable at the moment. I have Liverpool slightly better. But again, I'm going to take the dog plus a half here. Both teams to score first half, which I joked about last week and did cash again despite them being down 10 men, is now below plus 200 at most books, which is insane to think about in the Premier League. But yeah, it just shows you how far the market's gone on this. And both teams score first half, I believe, has cashed in all but one Liverpool game. If you go, the only game it did not cash was
Villa.
the Villa match where they kept a clean sheet. But if you pull up the numbers, they've been very good in that regard. Scoring early, conceding early, going down and coming back. Liverpool's like the best live betting team in the world right now. Even in their Europa League match against Lask, they were down 1-0, came back to win. West Ham 1-1. Leicester City in the League Cup. Spurs, they get the goal to equalize. Should have been up 1-0. So
you concede early, look like crap, turn it on, and win 3-1. That's what Liverpool does.
Hopefully they don't do that this week.
Okay, so all of us leaning towards Brighton here. I think all of us will be leaning in the same direction on this one. So we'll be betting against Anthony's Liverpool against Brighton, and we'll also be betting against Anthony's Spurs, here with Luton Town, who I thought looked all right against Burnley. After they beat Everton, then they lose to Burnley in what I thought was a decent effort on Tuesday while everybody else was watching Champions League. Plus 550 at home, hosting Tottenham, minus 225, and the draw is plus 375. Anthony, this is a question I wanted to pose to you. If this was match week 1 or 2, what would this line look like?
Yeah, I think Spurs minus 165.
Yeah.
Roughly. I don't have that in front of me, but I could actually probably pull that up. But yeah, 165 seems about right to me.
Yeah, I think that's right. And so the question is, I think we know that Spurs are better than what we thought coming into the year.
The vibes are better.
They're playing better, I think. You can just give it to them. And Luton Town maybe a touch worse or better. You can make an argument either way.
A little worse.
You think so? Yeah, I think whatever it is. But the question is the reaction justified, basically?
No.
And I would say it's probably not. I think that Luton Town's probably worth a bet here. Not a fun one because this could be 4-0 within 30 minutes. But if Luton Town can get their teeth into this game, I don't know. I don't think Spurs really just are going to, throughout this entire season, I just don't think they're going to profile as well as a big favorite because of the high risk, high reward style that they play. So I'm going to be on the Hatters here. And unfortunately, I'm going to be on the Hatters on the money line. Anthony, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so Tottenham has still been bad defensively, and I think we need to not overlook that. They played a 10-man Liverpool and then a 9-man Liverpool and still conceded over one expected goal in that match. The high turnovers against Arsenal led to some real issues in that match. They conceded in the match to Sheffield, in the match to Burnley, conceded twice in that one. Burnley was really taking it to them early. The United match, they didn't concede, but like they were giving up a bunch of chances. So if you just pull up like expected goal differential, Tottenham is plus 0.4, which is about a top 4 contender. It's about what you'd expect. But they have run really well, both defensively and in attack. Now, the attacking thing we kind of come to expect because of who takes the shots for them. Son and Maddison, career plus finishers. The defensive stuff, I mean, Vicario has been really good. His shot stopping has been a big key for Spurs. If you compare him to like Lloris last year, it's a major upgrade in goal. So, you give them maybe a little bit of a bump there, but this is still a defense that's giving up a lot of high turnovers and a team that's going to be very aggressive in their possession situations. So that's going to give Luton chances to turn them over high. And I know BJ mentioned this on our group chat the other day, just how much Luton was able to turn over Burnley high and not create anything out of it. That happened a lot. They ended up with more shots, more expected goals, more penalty box touches. Like they outplayed Burnley in that match at home. Now we get Spurs in like a really bad spot. Early kick off their biggest win of the season. All the stuff that's been going on. You're at the peak of the value on Tottenham right now, I think, for the season, really, because their defense has gotten away with mistakes and their attack has scored a bunch of late goals. So everybody, the vibes are amazing right now. So going to go to my tried and true Luton team total over first half, plus 175. I think this is a potential sleep spot for Spurs where they come out slow. They get packed into the game, but I don't trust the defense enough to lay a goal in a quarter here. So I'm going to take 1.25 minus 115 on Luton as well. I said I get 5 this year on Luton Town. This is numero uno. I'm going to bet them for the first time all year. Luton Town. I'm also betting against Tottenham for the first time all year. It's not including like unders. So.
And it's like challenges in NFL or hockey. If you win the bet, you get it back, and you can make 5 more for the rest of the year.
And I hadn't thought of it like that, but I think I like that. I'm limiting myself to losing just this much on Luton this year and no more. So
I think actually, and the more and more we're talking through, this is why this podcast is so helpful, not just for the listeners, but for me as well. Is the more and more we're talking about this, the more and more I'm liking the Hatters here. BJ, your thoughts?
Yeah, just for the record, I have unlimited bets on Luton Town this season. I'm not limiting myself to 5. But Anthony hit the nail on the head that Luton Town, what they like to do is they do like to press high. They will keep quite a few guys back, and they're actually a decent transitional defense. But right now in the Premier League, they have forced the 5th most high turnovers, and they are top 7 in shots off of those high turnovers. And if you just watch their matches, it's very clear, they want to get the ball wide and swinging crosses. Even against Burnley, they had a number of chances of crosses that the guys just couldn't get on the end of. So obviously that doesn't count towards the XG or anything like that. So they can definitely turn Tottenham over high here. And I mean, listen, Udogie's been a great defender in wide areas. Poro's not great. So, Luton Town could get some chances up the right wing here. They've won the expected goals battle in 3 of their last 4 matches, with the one they lost, sorry, Michael, was to Everton. But, they played West Ham evenly. They played Fulham incredibly evenly at Craven Cottage. And then, like we just mentioned, they outplayed Burnley at home on Tuesday. So now you're getting them at home, and you're getting essentially, it's a goal and a quarter right now. If you want to pay a little more juice, it's a goal and a half against, like Anthony said, Tottenham at the peak of their market values. So, yeah, this is definitely another Luton Town spot. I keep betting on this team like week in and week out. It hasn't been very profitable yet, but I do think that their tactical plan, even though they don't have a lot of talent, is starting to work. here in the Premier League. I think this style of them pressing high, not with reckless abandonment like they did in the Championship, but with a little bit more structure, can help them to stay up. Which, honestly, the battle for top promoted team is fascinating right now because it is completely up for grabs.
Here's the thing, right? And we talk about this. Brighton closed -1.5 on opening day at home against Luton. Now you're getting, I mean, it's ticked up a little bit. You're getting almost 1.5 with Luton at home against Spurs. And we just talked about how Brighton and Spurs are kind of similar, parallel in the market here. So the market has taken down this Luton team, and I'm boosted Tottenham more than I would have, certainly.
And I do think you'll see this close around -200 by the time we get there. We'll see. Maybe a ton of Tottenham money comes in, and maybe I'll be wrong, but I think a lot of smart money will come in and say, okay, this is a little too high for Tottenham.
Burnley and Chelsea now. Burnley at home, a 4-1 underdog after their win on Tuesday against Luton Town. Chelsea coming off a 2-0 win on Monday against Fulham. It was right. We were right about I was right about that one, and
we were all right. Everybody was right.
Under, baby.
Under. Both teams scored no. Chelsea was great.
Yeah.
Great day.
Yeah, it was a sweep.
Sanchez
there
made
on Monday
one
Night
really
Football.
big save.
I'll be honest. After the second goal, I turned off my TV. I was like, I can't watch this. Whatever. I knew it was coming, and then I checked in like the 75th minute, and I was like, oh, we're still live. All right, let's turn this back on. And he did make that huge save on Lucic right before the end.
Well, those Blues are odds on -143 on the road, and the draw is 3-1. I'm on an island here. I like Burnley. I think that you're going to be able to pick your spots against this Chelsea team that kind of feels the same as United. The way Burnley plays, it's all this high event back and forth suicide ball that Vincent Kompany wants a newly promoted team to play. And as BJ has talked about, probably not the best strategy if you're just trying to stay up and consolidate your spot in the Premier League, but makes you dangerous, especially against a team that really struggles in front of goals. So I think Burnley's worth a shot here. Anthony, any thoughts here before we move on? I know you guys are passing.
I mean, how much of a gap do you have between Fulham and Burnley at this point?
Right.
Yeah. Because we just saw this similar spot here, right? Like Fulham, so Chelsea plays Fulham +105, +110, that closed as high as 120 at some books with Jackson out. I mean, I like Nico Jackson. I don't think he's worth that much.
No.
So, it's a big boost here that I don't really agree with. So, yeah, it would be Burnley or nothing for me for sure. I mean, there's no data that gets me to Chelsea anywhere near -145. The thing is, and we have talked about finishing regression forever on this team, and it's true, but they just haven't created that many chances. I mean, they've created a good number of big chances they've missed, but they haven't created – this isn't like a Liverpool, Spurs, Brighton, City level attack. This is clearly still worse than that. And that needs to be considered. When you look at this price, because we were not that long ago where Tottenham was -115 at Burnley. So for Chelsea to be considerably higher than that is a little crazy to me. So yeah, Burnley or nothing here.
Fun stat though, Manchester City and Chelsea are the only two teams in the Premier League to win the XG battle in every single one of their matches this season. And I would not have told you that would be that Chelsea was going to be the team alongside City doing that. But
Chelsea had what? There was like a tie with Liverpool, right? That was a pretty even game. Yeah.
All right, on to Everton. I'm genuinely just sick of them. -110.
They're so good though, Michael.
Against Bournemouth.
Should have laid the 1 last weekend.
I knew it. I'm so mad at you guys for being confident in Everton and keeping me off of.
I'm confident here.
I know you are. It's sickening stuff.
This is time. It's put up or shut up time for me in Bournemouth.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've been talking about the schedule.
I've got some
forever.
things to say about your Iola.
Yeah,
okay,
I've been talking about this
I'll
schedule
just flip it
and
over
giving
to
them excuses. No more excuses anymore. This is time. It's put up or shut up time. Although now he gets a very good Everton team who's mid-table. Tough away match.
It is.
All of Everton's finishing regression is sure to come here because Bournemouth's running like so bad.
+280 on the Cherries.
Total's low.
At Goodison Park. The draw is +275. I think every Everton total is going to end up being low with the way that they play. And
shouldn't be.
Yes, it shouldn't be. I'm sitting it out. I think that there's two teams who are just begging for the international break to come. One of them is Bournemouth and the other is Manchester United. And Uh, I what did Everton close? What, minus 165 last week against Luton Town? Minus 110 now against Bournemouth, who are, I think, considerably better than Luton, but still, it's a little scary here, BJ. So you can talk to all the people and
Yeah, both
about why you should
Everton
bet
minus 105 and over 2.5. Best price is minus 118, which is at Bet365. I mean, what Sean Dyche has got cooking up here, I'm loving it. What he's doing with Decore, playing him as like a box invading, like kind of striker, midfielder type guy. He's like doing what Ancelotti's doing with Jude Bellingham over at Real Madrid. Like, Decore has been awesome. And what he also does is he provides an extra guy in the middle of the pitch. So now it makes it harder for teams to play through Everton's press through the middle of the pitch. And when they want to send long balls up there, they have three guys in and around the middle to win them and get the ball moving forward. Like, that's what Dyche wants to do. And then once obviously you put that many guys in the middle of the pitch, it forces the defense in and you create more space out wide. And Everton's obviously thrown in a ton of crosses this season, third most completed in the Premier League. But Bournemouth, I mean, Iraola, you're doing the same thing that Company is doing right now. You are pressing with too much reckless abandonment, and it's just not working. And it's not like it's a man-to-man marking press that it's like, a lot of teams have done pretty simply and effectively. It's this like very complex hybrid pressing system that often leaves Philip Billing in the middle of the pitch trying to defend two guys. So when you face teams that can actually build out of the back, they create overloads there and they have just ripped them apart. And once they beat that first line of the press, because people will point and say, well, Bournemouth is 7th in passes per defensive action. Well, they've forced the 8th most high turnovers. Well, they're 14th in build-up completion percentage allowed. They're dead last in final third to box entry conversion rate. 45% of the time when teams get into the final third, they're getting in Bournemouth's box. That is incredibly concerning. So for an Everton team that has now created the most big scoring chances in the Premier League after putting up 4 against Luton Town, they should just live in Bournemouth's final third here and really get inside the box and create a ton of chances. So, like, I projected 3.4 goals for this match, and I was like, wow, I'm way higher than the market. And then I kind of looked into this. I'm like, I don't really know if I am, because Bournemouth's now allowing close to 2 non-penalty expected goals per 90. Like, and it doesn't look like there's much hope it's going to get much better. So, I think Everton's quite low too. Projected Everton closer to minus 150. So yeah, and even if you want to go Everton team total too, if you just want to same game parlay all of this, like, I think this is one of those instances where you can get a really, really good price on an Everton just absolute blowout win, Michael. They're going to blow them out.
I don't think so.
No?
Me neither.
This just screams like 2-2 or 1-1 because I bet the over and they couldn't get the third goal across. But yeah, I mean, both of these teams want to disrupt. They want to turn over high. Neither of these teams are good at building out from the back. I think it sets up decently well for a bunch of high turnovers and a bunch of quick strike chances at both ends of the pitch. You mentioned it. I mean, Everton, I'm not even talking about the finishing regression. Bournemouth, I don't think, I mean, their defensive numbers are really bad, but they haven't played any bad teams. They've only played the best teams in the league. So again, it's like, what do they look like? I'm still not totally sure how this plays as they go further down the table and play worse teams. So I'm really intrigued by it. I think that this total is low for sure. And I said this before Brentford and Everton, and I was like, oh, like Dyche could, close up shop a little bit. The reality is that, like, the way Everton is playing right now, this market 2.5 that we've continually seen is just way too low. So I'm on the over. The side is right to me. I mean, I think Everton's a little better. They're at home, so about right.
They don't win at home anymore. They don't.
Yeah, I mean,
they don't win really anymore, anyways.
Sometimes you kick the ball and it doesn't go into the net.
Manchester United now minus 150 at home, hosting Brentford plus 375 at Bet365. The draw is plus 320. We've gone on pretty long here already. I think some teams are just so simple to handicap, and you want to circle those teams and stick to the strategy. And United is that team right now in the Premier League. They could be dangerous as a big underdog, like when they're playing City or Arsenal or Newcastle. Like they could be dangerous. They've still got all world talent. They can absolutely disrupt a team like that. But you just don't want to lay wood with them at all right now. This team is begging for the international break. They just lost to Galatasaray. They lost to Crystal Palace. Those were 2 5-1, and then Palace was around 5-1. Galatasaray was around 6-1. They were at home. Not only does this match not set up well for them, I don't think from stylistically, even though Brentford has not been great results-wise this season, Old Trafford could just turn into an absolute nightmare. The Theater of Dreams could turn into a nightmare on Saturday if this doesn't go well for the first 20 minutes. So I think there's a lot of signs pointing to the Bees here, who I think deserve a little bit more credit than maybe their place in the table suggests. So give me Brentford. Do it again. They've got United's number, it seems. So I'll take it. BJ. I'm on the money line.
We've already talked about United so many times and all their problems, but let's just identify one thing that happened against Galatasaray that's really going to cause Brentford's going to cause problems here. It's what the tactical people like to call vertical compactness. Essentially, Galatasaray was able to just play so many long balls with just acres of space where they could just receive it, and there was really no United player within the vicinity to close them down. If we know one thing about Brentford, they love long balls and they love vertical. They love to play the ball vertically. United is allowing a 57% pass completion rate on long balls this season. That's 5th worst in the Premier League. So the Bees are just going to play a ton of long balls up there, a bunch of vertical passes. And with all the injuries on the back line, there's just not a lot of cohesion and communication going on between Lindelof, Varane, Casemiro. I mean, he's starting to look cooked right now. Like, he really has been off his game quite a bit. So if he's off his game, United really doesn't have anybody else in the middle of the pitch. And they probably shouldn't be playing Amrabat at left back, but also, like, who else are they going to play there? Like, they literally don't have any options. So this is a perfect spot here for Brentford. I know Brentford's had a lot of injuries to key players, but Mbuemo's still there. Wisa's still up top. And, I mean, it sets up perfectly for them to do exactly what Galatasaray did to Manchester United. So Brentford plus a half at plus 125 for me.
I mean, who's laying 155 with United?
I don't know.
Call me, text me, DM, leave a review.
Where do you think it closes here, Anthony?
145, 150. The market has had consistent respect for United.
Yeah.
Galatasaray did not move a muscle. The Palace line stayed exactly the same. The Burnley line, there has been very little market movement on Man United despite this run of form. And look, there's 2 key things. One, you mentioned it, BJ, the long balls, losing the second ball off of it. It's like a classic, like, something's off effort wise. The wearing down in the second half of games has been a problem, and that was clearly evident against Galatasaray, I thought. And Amrabat, a left back, if you saw the Icardi winner, he was not a left back. He's not used to having to keep a line. And the reality of that is that he was given like 10 extra yards to Icardi on the 3rd goal. It was hilarious. Casemiro tracking back and committing a dumb foul, whatever. But United have conceded so many goals this year because of the 3rd man run at the top of the box, whether it's Casemiro or McTominay when he played there. They have not tracked that late run into the box. Brighton scored a bunch of goals off of it. Spurs got a goal from it with Pop Sarr making that late run. Like, they have conceded all these chances from this. And what does Brentford do a lot of? It's, okay, we're going to have a 2-man attack of Wisa and Mbuemo, and then somebody makes that 3rd run into the edge of the penalty area. They do that a lot. It's a lot of what they do because they're not going to commit a lot of numbers forward. So Højlund looked good. I think he played really well against Galatasaray. I think that's an encouraging sign long term because at this point, like in the medium to short term, they're a disaster. So I looked at the underdog results and the best bets, and the number of times we've made money fading this team has been quite fun thus far.
Maybe we'll recap that when we get back from the international break. The next match we'll talk about is Fulham and Sheffield United. The Cottagers, their odds on here, they're minus 163. I believe they are the biggest favorite besides Spurs on the board at the moment. Sheffield United traveling at 5-1, and the draw is plus 280. trust Fulham at this price at all. So I'm going to be backing the Blades once again. It went swimmingly so far this season. Every time we bet them, I think on aggregate when I bet Sheffield United, I'm maybe like a goal difference of -12. So let's see if I can fight my way back to respectability here. I'm on an island. Anthony, I know you. I feel like you're a little bit higher on Fulham than the rest of us. You can't make a case for the Blades.
I mean, I can, but I also bet them the last 2 weeks and got crushed. So I'm kind of like, do I want to go back to the same well on that? The Fulham attack was not good against Chelsea. It has not been good since Mitrovic left. They have certainly missed it, and they keep playing Raul Jimenez the first hour, just like donating an hour of an attack, and then bringing on Vinicius, who has actually been decent, but has not been good enough. I mean, he's been better though than Jimenez, so it is interesting to me that they are continuing to play Mr. Raul up top. And I wonder how long that experiment will continue given the situation changing at the moment.
So this is why I like Sheffield United. They're not good.
Even
Sheffield,
I won't bet them, right? So that's how you know that it's tough.
Yeah, they're not good. But Fulham struggles to defend. They struggle to create goal scoring. They're not very good either. So I will take a shot on the Blades at 5-1 on the road. On to Palace and Forest now. I think for me this was the match that I could have done without. Easiest pass on the board. Palace at home as a favorite at +120 on the three-way line. Forest +240. The draw is +230. BJ, you're the only one with a play here.
Yeah, both teams scored no, -115. Who's scoring for Palace in this match? Because Eze's out, Edouard's out, and Elise has obviously been out for the entire season. So there go your main three goal threats. And now you're going to turn to Mateta, Jeffrey Schlupp, Jordan Ayew. Not really that great when you're trying to break down Forest slow block. Eze and Edouard have combined for 4.9 of their 8.1 expected goals, 47 of their 90 shots, and 64 of their 150 touches in the penalty area. And honestly, Nottingham Forest slow block's been well improved this season. Number one in final third to box entry conversion rate. They're doing, obviously a great job of keeping teams out of the penalty area. They're not going to press Crystal Palace high. They're going to dare them to break them down, which if you watched Crystal Palace versus Fulham, Crystal Palace really isn't that capable of doing that. And Nottingham Forest, they're basically only good in transitional moments. But, in their last four matches, they've failed to create over one expected goal. And they played some good transition defenses in those, Chelsea, City, Brentford. Crystal Palace, not a team that's going to press high and really give you those transitional opportunities. Plus, they have Czech Decore, who's one of the best transitional defenders in the Premier League. So, that Palace-Fulham match, I think, is a good example of what this match is going to look like. And with the two, very poor offenses, I think both teams have scored no is -115. It's too low.
Okay. On to West Ham and Newcastle now. West Ham +220 as a home underdog. Newcastle +110 after an impressive win against PSG in the Champions League. And the draw is +280. Anthony, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I want to bet the under, but Newcastle's been screwing me left and right with these unders. And, they're getting attacking production from their secondary guys. Callum Wilson is likely out here, it looks like to me. And I think we underrated, how good he's been for them this year. House said it's going to be close for today. So maybe he's back for the weekend. But all of a sudden, Newcastle's attacking players are kind of short. They've actually gotten decent numbers from Joelinton. He's in an injury situation. Wilson's doubtful. Gordon is now suspended, and Harvey Barnes is out. So where are the goals going to come from against a West Ham defense that's going to let them have the ball and dare them to break them down? It's the same thing we've talked about with Newcastle forever. PSG kind of played in their hands a little bit. I didn't think they'd have that much success turning them over high as they did. I thought PSG would be more resistant to the press. They were not. So I will look toward the under and build the courage. The market keeps steaming these unders too. That's the thing. The Sheffield Newcastle under took a ton of money before post. The PSG Newcastle under took a ton of money before post. I feel like these openers have been high on Newcastle, and then they just go way over. So I'm kind of got to build the courage here. It's a build the courage play of the week.
A build the courage play of the week for you. BJ, real quick on West Ham and Newcastle.
Yeah, I think the price on Newcastle here is a little too short. I think the West Ham low block really isn't that effective. They're dead last in pretty much every single defensive category. They're overperforming their expected goals. And I know Newcastle doesn't have a lot of attackers available, but once that first goal goes in, it's going to be about all she wrote. So if this was minus 125, I'd have a little bit of a different conversation, but it's sitting at plus 115. So I think the price is just far too low on a team that should be considered inside the top four in terms of market respect.
Okay. We'll wrap up the Premier League with Wolverhampton and Aston Villa. Head to the Black Country where Wolves are plus 250 underdog at home. Villa plus 110 on the road, and the draw is plus 240. Anthony, you're a big Liverpool guy. You're obviously a Spurs fan. Have you bet every Wolves match this season?
I would need to pull it up. I'm pretty close though.
Because I would also suggest you might have bet an overwhelming majority of Wolves matches last year too, and you're the only one with a play here as Gary O'Neill's side.
So yeah, I faded them in week 2 to Brighton, which they lost, and then both teams to score against Everton. That was a fun one. Bet against them against Palace, and then I bet on them against Liverpool, past Luton, and did not bet the City match, even though I mentioned the team total over on this show. So that's where we're at now. So yeah, just about 2/3 of their matches.
Yep, and you should have bet them against United, and it would have been a crushing loss in the opener too. So,
right.
Anyways,
they covered.
Yeah. On you go.
On I go. Yeah, the attack is started to slow down a little bit, but there's no market respect here for this attack, at least with this team total over in the first half. So I'm going to continue to back that. I think that they come out, they punch teams in the mouth really quick, and then eventually, as the game settles in, their attack has kind of fallen off because they don't have enough good passers. So, what happens is that those attacking moves break down. Villa, though, is playing a pretty open style, and so all it takes is one ball over the top against this Villa defense, which is conceding a lot more expected goals than a normal Emery team. I think that's a really interesting as he transitions. We've seen Emery do this mostly in Spain with his success at Villarreal defensively. We have not seen them be as effective in the Prem. And one of Arsenal's problems when he was there, and one of Villa's problems has been, the balls over the top. So I think that, you're seeing the limitations of what Villa has from a personnel point defensively. Even in the win where they scored 6 against Brighton, Brighton did create almost 2 XG at Villa. So Villa's attack is still good, and Diaby and they're getting a lot of auxiliary production from around guys. It's not just Ollie Watkins, which is what it was last year, but the Wolves attack is undervalued here for me. So targeting them, if Villa drifted to minus 110, then I'd come back on Wolves plus a half, but I'm not going to lay the minus 130 price, 135. It's a little too high for me on Wolves plus a half, but I do certainly lean that way as well.
Okay, that's the Premier League done and dusted. We'll talk more about it in our underdog segment and then best bets at the very end of the show. Now on to Bundesliga. You two have plays here. Anthony, you can go first.
Yeah, Gladbach got their first win of the season, and I think they're overvalued here against Mainz. Mainz has been the worst team if you just bet them against the spread this season, just like Asian handicap lines. They have been the biggest underperformer in all of Europe's top 5 leagues, just relative XG to XGA. They did get Ludovic Ajorc back against Augsburg, and he scored in that match, and he makes their attack more formidable because without him, they're kind of offensively challenged. But Ajorc, his ability to win balls and they play off him really well. He's good in the air too. He's been good for them and improves their attack. And this Gladbach defense, the attack is starting to get healthier, and they've found some things out here. But the defense is really, really poor at Gladbach, and Suani has not really changed that since coming in this year. And the personnel and what they've lost has kind of not been made up for. So with Gladbach at home, right around even money, I'm going to go against them with Mainz plus half.
BJ.
Yeah. If Mainz has been the worst team, then Cologne's been the second worst team, and I'm going to back them against, what seems like the best team in the world now, Leverkusen. Really no data point that I can point to here that gives Cologne any type of advantages, but we are at the peak of the market value with Leverkusen right now, who has pretty drastically overperformed their expected goals, about 19 goals, about 14 expected so far. They got to go for a Thursday trip to Norway in the Europa Conference League. The Europa League. So really just a simple projection as a Cologne team that was around an even expected goal differential last season. Just has not won a match yet this season. Just a pure overvalue in the market by Leverkusen here. So Cologne +1 +1.5 for me.
LaLiga, BJ.
Yeah, Girona, Cadiz over 2.5 goals. Girona was at the top of the table for a little bit in La Liga there, and they are just completely scoring goals for fun. Very open style of play, a team that likes to get up in your face, disrupt build-up play, very good at turning you over high. Cadiz, I mean, we know the story about them. I've been fading them quite a bit all season long. Hasn't gone very well. Worst defensive team in Spain last season. I've played a little bit better this year, but I think the total here is a little too low for Girona offense that has been creating a lot of high-scoring event type matches. So over 2.5. Girona and Cadiz.
Anthony, you got no surprise here. Trying to take on Diego Simeone. How'd that work out for you this week?
Yeah.
Look, the Feyenoord created over 2.5 expected goals.
Okay, here we go.
They completely dominated the match, and Oblak was awesome. That's football. It happens sometimes. I look forward to the rematch in De Kuip in a couple of weeks here. I guess we got a little bit of time. We got about a month and a half, so we got some time. Nord will be fully armed and ready to take down this fraud Atleti team. But first, I think I have the better team here, catching a half a goal. I'm willing to say that La Real, now fully healthy and armed with the best defense in this match, should be about a smidge better than Atleti on a neutral. And so once I factor in home field, Atleti should be favored, of course, but not by the full half goal that the market is giving them here. So I will take La Real Sociedad plus a half on the road, and hopefully Takefusa Kubo is back and ready to cook a very mediocre and regressing defense.
That will end up winning the Champions League. BJ, on to Serie A.
Yeah, Jose Mourinho's Roma -115 on the road, on the island, against Cagliari. Cagliari, I mentioned this coming into the season, but they were only around like an even expected goal differential throughout all of last year in the second division. Claudio Ranieri at the helm, obviously, former Leicester manager, won the title with them. So far this season, Cagliari has already conceded 10 expected goals in 7 matches, barely creating over 5. So really a bad team here. And I know that Roma is playing a Europa League match on Thursday. They have not been in good form in Serie A, but they have been underperforming. Romelu Lukaku looks in good form, so they have a capable striker. I think the price is just far too low on this Roma team. So Roma -110 on the road or on the island against Cagliari.
And nothing from us for Ligue 1. So
there's just a lot of matches that I want to play that I know I'm going to lose.
Perfect.
That's how I feel right now in France.
So that means we can talk.
So follow me in the app if you want to lose some bets in France.
Yeah. We could talk our favorite underdogs, 3-leg underdog parlay, our favorite part of every show. I had a late switch, and so we're not at 182 to 1 anymore. We're actually at 197
yes.
to 1.
I have a feeling I know what team came into the pod here.
Yep. You could do both if you want. You can do yours and mine. Go right ahead.
Is your team Luton Town?
Oh, it's Luton Town.
Yeah, I had a feeling. Well, we already talked about that game for like 5 minutes, so we'll save the further analysis. But yeah, I mean, Luton Town, you're selling Spurs at the peak of their value after they get this dramatic late victory for the second time in 3 weeks. They've had 2 huge league matches in a row. Now they have a sleepy away morning spot, noon kick against lowly Luton, who has played better than their numbers and their results thus far. So yeah, Luton at home. Underdogs, we are down 5 units this year. Actually, I am hurting the team. You guys are up slightly, and I'm down for underdogs. So I need to get cooking here, and I'm going to try to find a winner, and that winner is Brentford 4-1. I'm going to do what you guys do. Just bet against United.
Just bet against United.
And then cash in. I'm due for one of those. You guys have been doing it all year, and I haven't. I've let you guys take the United fade underdog money lines. And so, sure, Brentford money line, 4-1.
Yeah, it's easy. So that's Luton Town, that's Brentford, and BJ. This is another underdog that I think has just found its way into this segment way too many times.
I mean, we're 8 matches in the season. This team has found their way into my heart just too many times. But Las Palmas on the road, plus 510 against Villarreal. Villarreal's in a very, very bad place right now. They're currently sitting with a -3 expected goal differential 8 matches into the season. They've already fired their manager. Now they're switching a formation to a 4-4-2. They were this possession dominant team. Well, now they're trying to play transitionally. It's just all very, very chaotic and weird. And Las Palmas has a very interesting statistical profile. Like defensively, they've been very, very good. Second lowest expected threat of anybody in La Liga this season. They've forced, they're top 5 in forced high turnovers, top 5 in pass per defensive action. Just a very, very fun team that I like to continue backing. So let's hope they can give us a decent performance here on the road to Villarreal.
Las Palmas, another reason why stoppage time should be banned after they beat Vigo on Monday.
No.
In stoppage time, 97th minute or something ridiculous. Yeah, fun.
Yeah, deservingly won the match, yeah.
Ban stoppage time. They did not deserve shit.
So that's Las Palmas, Luton Town. Like I said, they were a late entry for me. I was originally going to go with Sheffield United. Still going to bet Sheffield United, of course.
Now we have a chance at winning.
And Brentford for Anthony, the customary Manchester United fade in our underdog segment. Like I said, it comes out 197 to 1. On to best bets now. BJ, your favorite bet for match week 8 in the Premier League.
Yeah, I like a snoozer. 12:30 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. Crystal Palace versus Nottingham Forest. Like both teams to score no at -115. Eze and Edouard are both going to miss this match for Crystal Palace, which basically goes all of their offensive output, trying to break down a Nottingham Forest low block that has actually been very effective this season, first and final third to box entry conversion rate. Nottingham Forest, though, offensively, really only good in transitional moments. Crystal Palace not going to press you high. Very, very good in transition defense. Check Decore, one of the best transitional defenders in the Premier League. So if you want a good picture of what this match is going to look like, look at the Crystal Palace Fulham match from a few weeks ago. Should be a very, very snoozy type match. If you want to play some 0-0 draws, I think that's definitely live here. So both teams score no at -115.
Boy, there are so many bad teams that I'm going to be betting this week. I could bet Burnley. I'm going to be betting Sheffield United. I'm betting Luton Town. But I'm actually going to back a team I think is pretty solid against a team that is in a terrible, terrible spot. That's Manchester United. And I'm going to be using Brentford on the money line as my favorite bet for this week, 4-1. Anthony talked about them in the underdog section. You weren't going to keep me from highlighting the Bees in this spot. United has treated me so well this season. I think the only time that they tripped me up was when I bet on them against Bayern Munich. I'll keep going against them when they're big favorites, even at home. I think Old Trafford has a chance to turn from the theater of dreams to the theater of nightmares. If Brentford can give United a game, even if they struggle, if it's 0-0 after like 25 minutes and United just looks drab, this thing could turn toxic. And we already spent a lot of time talking about how Brentford just profiles well stylistically against a United team that really struggles defensively, especially against direct long balls. So the Bees, baby, back on the Bees, another team. United's treated me so well in one way. Brentford's treated me so well over the years in a different way. So I'm always happy to back Thomas Frank and Buzz the Bees. Anthony, bring us home.
Arsenal City under 2.5. First match we talked about. Just think that we're going to see very conservative approaches from Guardiola and Arteta. That has been the majority of their matchups against one another. Arsenal tried to be a little more on the front foot in that last meeting in the league in the spring, and they pretty much got cooked repeatedly by the same moves in transition. So I think with De Bruyne out, that kind of hurts City's ability to do that same thing. Not that Alvarez and Foden haven't clearly stepped up and made up for the production, but I think that Saka being out is the big key here, because if City gets ahead, they are going to sit on this lead, and Arsenal's best attacker being out will hurt their chances to play back into it. So under 2.5, even money.
Okay. That is it for us today. That is it for us for a couple weeks. We head into an international break. We'll see you guys again 2 weeks from today. Enjoy the soccer until it goes away for for the break. For BJ Cunningham, Anthony DeBundo, our sponsors, Bet365, our producer Noah, this is Michael Leboff wishing you the best of luck with all your bets.